Welcome back. I reread the Hanes Taliesin the other day, and if you know the story of Taliesin, you will know that when Elfin first introduces Taliesin to the king and to the king's bard, he introduces Taliesin as the greatest bard that ever lived. The king and the king's bard were very upset by this, obviously, and the king says to Taliesin, "Who are you?" And Taliesin answers in this wonderful poem, the Hanes Taliesin. And in that poem, he tells you who he is, what he's done, where he's been, and you are in no doubt at the end of that poem about who Taliesin is. And I often wondered whether I could write such a poem in response to the question, "Who are you?" And I never did. But a few years ago, I did write the poem, The Hanes Adam, my version of the Hanes Taliesin. And I've never quite responded to anybody with that yet, but maybe one day I will. Maybe the next time you ask me, "Who am I? Who are you?" you may get this response. It's called the Hanes Adam. Hope you like it. Thrice chief bard of Anderida have I been. My origins in the borough of Kingston upon Thames, and in Croydon for many years did I reside, but now Sussex is my home. In '66 I was born when the cup was won and Germany fell for perhaps the last time. Hendrix came to England and blew the minds of Londoners. The Rolling Stones wrote their first self-written LP and LSD was made illegal. I was 2 when a dream nearly died and a king was slain. Segregation legal across the USA and a war raging in Vietnam. I was at school when the Beatles broke up, but I played oblivious to that until my mum introduced me to the joys of Mark Bolan and T-Rex. I remember the long hot summer of '76 and the playing out from early to late. And I saw the spirit of '77 as punk shattered the establishment. God save the Queen, she ain't no human being. I mean it, man. But still I cheered the Jubilee and was pleased to see Virginia take the Wimbledon crown. I said goodbye to Mark Bolan, and thank you very much, as the king of rock and roll also died. And starting secondary school, Thatcher rose to power. And I watched a peanut farmer hand the reins of power to a B-movie actor. And I was in shock as Bon Scott died, and again as John Lennon was shot dead. And I watched the Falklands Task Force set sail, and I knew not what to think. But I was in awe as I watched Pink Floyd perform The Wall live. I had tears in my eyes as I watched the Lockerbie crash hit the news. But I had hope in my heart as one man stood against the tanks in Tiananmen Square. I laughed as Thatcher fell and Lech Walesa rose. And I laughed as the Berlin Wall fell, and I cried as Mandela took his long walk to freedom. Australia bound was I, in a happy place, but trepidation was there as a Gulf War was being televised. Tears of absolute joy I found when my son Ross was born. Tears repeated, joy repeated when Freddie fell through my hands. I have watched man go to many wars pointlessly. I have watched many a disaster. I have seen many a terrorist attack. And yet I have found my path, and as I walk that path, I can see the beauty in nature all around. I have been loquacious on top of that hill. I have shown off much with my drum in hand. I have failed in my first marriage. My current union falters. I have hurt many, often deeply, but usually without intent. I have been called many, many names, many of them unfair or unkind, and I have had many roles: son, brother, father, lover, husband, dad. And for 9 full months was I grown in the womb of my dear old mum. And when I was born, I was an unnamed boy, and I came to be called Adam. And Adam is who I was, and Adam is who I still am. There we go, that was my attempt at the Hanes Taliesin. Not a patch on Mr. Taliesin himself, but I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Until the next time, peace be with you guys. Cheers.